Hi, my friends. My name is Matt, and this channel is. Sorry, I just reached my step goal. Somehow sitting here. A whole nother video. Paralysis by analysis. There is no way that I'm the only one going through this. Hi, my friends. My name is Matt, and this channel is called What Matters to Matt. Now, if you are new to my channel, on this channel, I share with you the things that I'm doing to be the best that I can be for the most important thing in my life, which is my family. And part of that is taking care of my health. Now, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, the other thing you might not know is that not that long ago, I decided that I was going to run my first marathon, having never run a 5K, a 10K, half marathon, none of that. I was going to jump right to the marathon because I love giving myself some challenges. I like to have goals, I like to have targets, and so that's what we're doing. Now that leads me to a number of challenges, being a dad, having two jobs, just living a busy lifestyle like so many of us live, and it be my first ever marathon. There's a lot of things that come up, and there's a lot of things that I want to share with you throughout my winter marathon prep, and paralysis by analysis is actually one of those things. Before I get to the details and sharing with you how I think you might be able to cope with that or how you might be able to deal with that and what I've actually done myself or what I'm doing and what I have to remind myself of, I've got a couple of tips. I have to share with you something super exciting. If you aren't watching my videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that bell notification because every little bit helps. But if you are watching my videos, you probably know that quite often, because they are the most important thing to me, my kids creep into my videos quite a bit. And what I want to talk about and share with you was something that happened over the weekend that kind of helped me break free of the paralysis by analysis, and it came from my daughter. See, it was Sunday morning, just to give you a scenario, and I had not been running all week. I had this plan. I ran Monday and Tuesday. I had this little bit of an injury that was going on in my side, down in my groin area actually. And it was just a little niggle, not much, barely there. And honestly, after I got up and moved around, I couldn't really feel it at all. But it was there when I got up. And I got online, and I do what a lot of people do, especially if you're like me, especially if you're new, is that you do a ton of research and you go to a lot of different resources. And mind you, a lot of these resources are pretty credible. I know they say be careful of what you see on the internet, but there's a lot of good information out there as long as you know exactly where to look. But I heard so many things about resting, rice, all that stuff that you do when you have some sort of an injury. And it actually ended up being that I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, so I actually didn't run all week. And then when Sunday came, Sunday morning, I got up, I got dressed, I looked outside, and it was snowing. And I was about to just bag it, not go for a run because I was already halfway convinced that I needed another rest day because I wasn't feeling that great. And my daughter says to me, it would be super fun to go for a run in the snow. I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go for a run in the snow. So got dressed, got ready, went with my daughter outside. We went for a quick run. It ended up being the absolute perfect run, the exact thing that I needed to do. I spy with my little eye something that is pink.
This.
Nope.
This.
Oh, you got it. Who knew that after all of that time doing research online, all the hours just agonizing over exactly what I should be doing, that the answer would come from my 11-year-old daughter. But we had so much fun. It was an easy run. We ended up only running a little bit over 1.5 kilometers, a little bit over a mile. So it was a really short run, barely even a warm-up, but it was great. It was perfect. Got me out there and got me convinced that, you know what, I'm actually feeling pretty good. Since then, it's been a couple of days, and I've gotten back on track. I've gotten back on my program, and I went on a couple of runs. Went on a quick 8 kilometers this morning, around 5 miles for my American friends. But I felt super awesome going on that run, and I'm back on track. And I owe a lot of that to my daughter. In a previous video, I was talking about my son, some of the advice he gave to me around making sure that I get enough hours in the day.
You know, it's like 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday.
Oh, that's how I go to bed late.
What's that?
That's how I get more time in the day.
That was a whole nother video. You want to see that video? I'll put a link up here somewheres. Or you can watch that after you watch this video. I'll put it at the end as well. But for my winter marathon prep, the one thing or one of the things that I know that I'm going to constantly be going through is paralysis by analysis. And I want to give you a couple of tips that I go through, a couple of things, mental checks that I go through when I start to feel that creeping in. And basically all it is, if you don't know what paralysis by analysis is, it's very much what it sounds like. You get a lot of information, but you can't make a decision. You can't pull the trigger.
No! What are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it!
And if you're training for a marathon, part of it is the clock is ticking. The marathon that I plan on doing in May 2022, you go to their website and the first thing you see is a countdown, the number of days, hours, minutes, seconds. It's a countdown right to the day, and you feel that as a marathoner, and actually, oddly enough, you have to keep reminding yourself that even the training is a marathon, not a sprint. And here's just a couple of things that I came up with, a couple of ideas that I have that you might really want to think about if you're having this struggle. Make a decision on who you are going to listen to. What sort of qualifications do you hold most important? For me, it comes down to answering the question, have they lived it? All the book knowledge and all the certificates and all that in the world is great, and that's super, super important for you to become qualified and get some of that really in-depth knowledge to give me some of your advice and your experience, any sort of physio person. But honestly, one of the things that I hold closest to my heart in terms of who I get my advice from are those who have lived it, who has run marathons, who has run ultras, who has done those endurance events. That's where I feel like some of the most important advice comes from. That's just me. Qualifications might be the most important to you, but make a decision on what's most important to you in terms of where you get your advice, and that makes it so much easier to actually take that advice and run with it. No pun intended. Maybe a little. The second tip I have for you is listen to your body. Now, I know that sounds super simple, and I'm not trying to downplay any of the advice you might get from the experts out there. But what happened to me earlier in the week, if I go back to it, is that I was having this little tiny pain, almost to the point where when I was walking around, I almost had to work to feel it. And even when I got out on a little bit of a jog or a little bit of a run, I really had to mentally think about it. Now, that is important too. You do have to kind of pay attention to what's going on, and sometimes it's best to focus exactly on that so that you're able to kind of interpret how bad it is, because you want to have good detail if you are looking for advice. But listen to your body. It was so small, and once I got warmed up, I was perfectly fine, and all I had to do was just listen to myself and not go too deep into the what ifs, because that can get really, really debilitating and really dive deep into the possible paralysis by analysis, the very thing that we're trying to combat. But ultimately, it comes down to doing what's most important to you. When I chose my marathon, what's important to me, of course, is the goal, because I want to be able to run a marathon, and having that goal helps me achieve it. But deciding on sitting down and making a list of factors of what's most important to you when it comes to, let's say you are trying to run a marathon, is it the actual goal of running the marathon, or is it leading up to that? So often we hear that the process is more important than the goal, that you have to enjoy the process. I'm a big believer in that. I think goals are important because it helps you figure out where you're going from point A to point B, but enjoying the process. And for me, enjoying the process comes down to feeling like I'm actually working. So as somebody who's fairly new to marathon running, for me, I'm willing to take the risk on doing a little bit more speed work, maybe putting in a few more kilometers than what some of the beginner marathon programs offer out there. The risk of injury is up a little bit for me. Not much. You still have to make informed decisions, but pick something, realize exactly what's most important to you. Is it the goal? Is it the experience of getting to the goal? And then that's going to help you kind of get past some of that paralysis by analysis, because you're not left reading so many different things and opinions on what is important and what's not. And you're able to narrow down your focus when you look at the number of different suggestions out there on actually how you should cater your program and what you should actually be doing. So I didn't plan on this being a very long video, and I just wanted to share those few really important things to me to you. One of those, first and foremost, the most important, is just how much fun I had with my daughter going on that run. My kids don't know, they don't understand just how much motivation they give me. I talk about it in other videos, how much I love motivating them, but ultimately they probably motivate me a lot more than I could ever motivate them just with everything that they do. If you did like this video and you think you're going to want to see more of my content, please hit that subscribe button. Comment down below on the things that you value most when it comes to your marathon training. Also, click on this video right here or this video down here if you want to see more of my videos as I go through my winter marathon prep. My name is Matt. This channel is called What Matters to Matt, and ultimately, I'll say it again, what matters to me most is my family, and I will see you in the next one.